Alright. Let's see. Today's is March 4th. 4/24, some bullshit like that. So, you guys like Sabbath lessons and shit. Alright, so the first Sabbath lesson you're gonna watch me order this book. Doobie. So the cheapest one, it's $18.77. They're temporarily out of stock. So for under 20 bucks, under the price of a small bag of weed, you can buy the most valuable information in your biblical career. Look at that. Or I could pay $20 and let's see. See, the tax on this is $1.27, so that's 20 bucks for that. So this one's gonna be like 25 bucks. That one's 25 bucks. This one's 26 bucks with shipping, and it's just gonna get pricier and pricier. Oh, look, they all got a bunch of the hollowed out around 23. New. So I'm gonna get me a brand new book. I'm gonna get me a paperback, cause I got too many hardcovers. I could surely use a paperback. Alright, so I'm gonna add this to my cart. Wordery. I should expect it March 31st. That's a long time, okay. Hey, I like this one, March 11th. March 11th. We'll go with this one. Bam! So now I'm gonna go ahead and proceed to check out. None of these books are really what I want. Oh, there. They came before Columbus. That's different. He uses one of those books as a reference in this. Right. Keep me signing in, playing around. Alright guys, so that's the rest. You don't get to see my address and credit card number. But now I've shown you consistently as waves of water hit the shore of land. Consistently, I've shown you consistently that you're not all Israelites. That we've left Africa a long time ago. It's called the Exodus. We left the old world a long time ago. I've shown you in many different ways. It is ridiculous that you can make this many videos on the same subject. Now it's the Sabbath, and all of you went and worshipped your Christian Christ. All of you were in the New Testament today. Not one of you brought someone new to this. Things grow by word of mouth. And just like these goddamn devils have hidden the truth from you, you're sitting there with your thumb in your mouth, hiding the truth from your own people. You who've been sitting here, oh, I watch these videos continuously, and all you do is watch. There's no action. A football commercial comes on the TV, and you're outside throwing a football instantly. Instantly. I link the videos. And I don't hear any of you talking about this. Over and over again. And you just don't care. And when I say, oh, I'm going to stop making these videos, you go, oh, no, don't stop, because then I got nothing to watch. You don't care about the truth. I say, read the Old Testament, and it shouldn't be hard at all. Worship no other God. Here is the Sabbath, and all of you injected, oh, please, let me pray to the Father in Christ's name, because obviously God sent Christ, right? He sent some Roman God. He sent the people. He said don't worship their God. He sent the people to enslave you for turning away from Him. And like the whores we have become, you worshipped the God that they brought. And now, like zombies, you sat there and you injected another God into your prayer all Sabbath. What's the point? What's the point of showing you the truth if you're just going to paganize the truth and then make money off of it? It's just like Horace Butler said, I threw them a bone. He gave those white people a hidden room in the temple, and they went and took the black body out to hide the body. You say, I'm the body of Israel. You could be anything, and you won't even share the information with other black people. Isn't that stingy, selfish, not doing any work? Lazy? So all I ever do is bring you gifts. So here, I'm going to bring you just a pleasant gift.
City. I was permitted to go in and look at this collection a number of years ago. The collection was housed in a building that the LDS Church owns on the west side of the city. And I invited 2 or 3 of my friends to come along with me. 2 of them photographed this. The other main one was Wayne May from the Ancient American Magazine.
All right, you guys recall that your what is that? Your Bible camp gathering of pagans, Christian bullshit. You've got the law teacher that's the Latin law teacher that claims he's Hebrew, and you all bow to him as he twists the fucking law, right? He had a radio program where he had Wayne May on. Now, Wayne May, the LDS Church connection, right? And then you've got your fucking Latin that you call Gabar. That is somehow in connection with what? Wayne May, that's connected with it. You'd be surprised at how many guests that are on the GOCC are connected to the fucking Mormons. Wake the fuck up. Told you they're getting a Sephardic paycheck, and it's from the LDS Church.
And then his son and daughter was there.
That's why when I looked up the what's it called? The 501c3 of them, it said that they went by all these different names trying to gather the children of Israel, and it said it was a Mormon organization.
The collection had been collected by 2 men, Soper and Savage, and back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. I might as well tell you up front that the leaders of the LDS Church have considered this collection phony.
Now, the LDS Church considers this whole collection phony. Now, it doesn't matter if I have a bad camera. You can always type in Michigan artifacts and see the whole 10-minute video for yourself. So you're complaining and shit like that. It just shows how spoiled the homeborn slave is. You understand? It just shows how spoiled you guys are. Just looking for shit to always complain about instead of ever doing anything. Now watch. Now here's all your shit. Now this is why you ain't got nothing.
As well as the Smithsonian Institute and the professors at BYU. However, at the time when the collection first came out, it was the old kind. And since that time, there has been 30 other private collections surface, of which Soper and Savage had nothing to do with. And the other collections have the identical...
That's a crown. Right? Start buffing and polishing that. Is that gold right there? That one's gold.
Languages that are written on their tab, so it's a little.
You got gold fucking crowns, and they said it's fake. The Smithsonian said it's. Oh, I hit the fucking forward button. Now, I accidentally restarted it, and I think he's saying Salt Lake City. It just starts.
Salt Lake City.
Something Lake City. So, and I'm assuming he's saying Salt Lake City because it deals with the LDS Church.
Salt Lake City.
But it's called the Michigan Artifacts. He goes, artbullia.com trashing politically correct history of the earth, conversation of a skeptic who personally met Henriette Mertz, author of The Mystic Symbol. Now this has to do with something we'll see in a second. It says, and then read her book concerning the Michigan tablets, with her confession of error, plainly showing how scientists and all archetypical culture, Mormons, and who the fuck wrote this? And indeed the whole world are guilty of groupthink concerning archaeology, anthropology, and theology, and evolutionism, and leading the world into the cross set of error politically and culturally, even to destruction, saith the Lord. Okay, wow. That was really long-winded and written really, really goofy. But you'll understand some of that once you see this again.
I was permitted to go in and look at this collection a number of years ago. The collection was housed in a building that the LDS Church owns on the west side of the city. And I invited 2 or 3 of my friends to come along with me. 2 of them photographed this. The other main one was Wayne May from the Ancient American magazine, and then his son and daughter was there. The collection had been...
So, your black ass can never go to the LDS Church and say, I'd like to see the artifacts from Michigan. They'll look at you, and they'll remember what the artifacts look like, and they'll say, oh, heavens no. You can't see them. Alright? And they'll tell you why at the end. Because they've been planning the whole time to destroy them. The whole time, they're ready to destroy these things.
Collected by 2 men, Soper and Savage, and back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. I might as well tell you up front that the leaders of the LDS Church have considered this collection phony, as well as the Smithsonian Institute and the professors at BYU. However, at the time when the collection first came out, it was the old kind. And since that time, there has been 30 other private collections surface, of which Soper and Savage had nothing to do with. And the other collections have the identical languages that are written on their tabs, so it's a little difficult to believe that these are in fact phony. The next thing is that we've learned that there are literally tens of thousands of ruins that have been found all over the eastern part of the United States, to include Michigan, where these were found. And it's hard to believe these people didn't have some form of language that they would have probably recorded these tablets and artifacts with. I was told by the curator that the collection was going to be disposed of by the LDS Church as soon as Sister Hunter passed away. That this was the rumor that he had received, and that so immediately after viewing this, I contacted Sister Hunter.
So you see they have broken tablets back here, right? They say they ain't have no language, but here's the tablets back here with the language on it.
Viewing this, I contacted Sister Hunter. Milton R. Hunter, her husband, had passed away, and I talked to her, and she was in her 80s, and she told me that the collection belonged to her and her family. It was in Milton R. Hunter's will, and that she had already turned the collection over to her daughter, Linda Hunter Adams, who was at BYU. And she wanted me to talk to Linda Hunter Adams, and gave me her phone number. And before I could call, after hanging up, she got a hold of Sister Adams, and she called me on the telephone. And so I went and met with Linda Hunter Adams at BYU, and I actually gave her a copy. Right here in this picture, we're just past looking at pipes. These items in the front here are lanterns where they would put a...
Now, remember, this Mormon book is written by Joseph, I don't know, I forgot what his name is, right? But he tells you about the copper scroll that he found in a cave, right? All this other stuff been found in the ground, you know, right? So they find a copper scroll in the name with in a cave with family names on it and shit, right? So this is the same way the Mormon started their church, finding stuff like this, attempting to translate it, but yet it builds the net worth of their church. They see this stuff, you can even see it's, you know, copper and gold, not the box right here, but the crown, and they're like, no, it's fake.
Actually gave her,
but they got the same stuff. If you look up the copper plate, the copper scroll that they found, and look at the writing on these tablets, it's the same writing.
Right here in this picture, we're just past looking at pipes. These items in the front here are lanterns where they would put a light, that they would put a little bit of oil in and burn it for like a candle. And
so that's what they say. They found all this shit. All this. It must be fake. And they're controlling the fate of these materials. So you see, it's rocks crying out, right? These people done excavated something, and here come all these artifacts.
And on each one of these items, you'll see this engraving that looks the same on all of them. And they refer to that today as the mystic symbol. They didn't know what it was. It's on the side of this little lantern right here, and you'll see it all over. And
all right, on that one, on the other thing, on this, see here, it's spread out. It's spread out like that, like that. All right, one's right there. One's at that angle. One's at that angle. One's at that angle. One's at that angle, and one's at that angle. You see how it's doing that? No. Let's go back. Now you see, I'm going to turn the camera So that it's right, the symbol's right tied up for you. So that should be you looking at the symbol. Alright.
Today as the mystic symbol. They didn't know what it was. It's on the side of this little lantern right here. You'll see it all over, and it has to do with 5 spikes.
Now they're claiming it has to do with 5 spikes. Now you can see there's a complete tablet, and it's been broken in 3.
These spikes are, they claim, the spikes that were used to nail Jesus to the cross. And these are spikes are used in the formation of, they claim, a sacred name. The Indians claim it's the name of Christ.
Now, here you have this guy saying the Indians claim it's the name of Christ. Now watch what he says in a second.
They have a different name for him in Christ.
They have a different name for him. So, when Rome comes over here and tells you Jesus Christ died on the cross, and it happened over there in Rome or in Europe or in the Levant, and they don't really fucking know, it's because it didn't happen. And it didn't happen over there. Now, when you go back to the Maccabees story, the Maccabees tell you about Alexander Janus, a Maccabean, that starts crucifying everybody. He's fighting, look at this, we got an Antioch College. It's funny because this came up today. He's fighting Antioch Epiphanes, right? I've had an epiphany. Everywhere in this place, you got Antioch this or Antioch that. Here, I'm going to show you. You type in, and it's weird, man, because it's like he wants us to know, but he wants us to understand it's got nothing to do with what's written in the New Testament. There is someone that's special, that died, that is pierced. The pierced one is not Jesus, though, and his name's not Christ, and the stories are not intermixed. King James had no information about this existing. Now listen to what's found from just the artifacts.
5 spikes. These spikes are, they claim, the spikes that were used to nail Jesus to the cross. And these are spikes are used in the formation of, they claim, a sacred name. The Indians claim it's the name of Christ. They have a different name for him in Christ, but they claim it's the name of Christ. And that these people who had evidently, that was relay box, here's slate tablets.
No. That's all the information that's there. There is no more on this real pierced one, other than the Indians have a name for him. So, here's the real deal. There is a missing gap of history. Romans, real Romans, seize Jerusalem. Titus brings down Jerusalem. The Israelites are enslaved. There's no real record of how long the Israelites are in Rome. At some point they leave Rome when Rome falls. They end up here. This history is hidden from. It's the only missing piece. that is unaccounted for. This means we would have came home, we would have rebuilt Jerusalem just like we did in the time of Nehemiah. We listen to Horace Butler's work, they talk about how the Europeans were then cut off after the acts of Rome. This is why the book America Being the Latest Discovery, that's why it starts off with nobody could have sailed around the world. What the previous people must have said couldn't have been true. Because nobody had word of mouth record of sailing around the world. Everything else was just written account of sailing across the world. Now this is very important. The Europeans go to power and there's nobody around to say, hey, sail this way or sail that way. It's not until they send their conquest out into Africa that they learn about the trading routes across the Pacific.
These spikes are used in the formation of, they claim, a sacred name. The Indians claim it's the name of Christ. They have a different name for him than Christ, but they claim it's the name of Christ.
So the thing that you're reading about, remember, the Europeans come over, they've already got their New Testament. This is what's been driving Europe for some time, this New Testament. They've already dispersed Rome. You get what's going on? Hundreds of years have passed. Some of these Israelites are mingled in with them, have lost connection with the past history. And most of them have been gone for some time. They've been in this belief of Christ, blaming Rome for killing Christ, right? And then their military come over here in a crusade to what? Well, we heard Jerusalem still exists. We want to sack it. Like Butler said, so that they can be the top church. What was the church doing at that time? They were sending people to the Americas, but signing over their brother, if you die on this great quest, what of your land? Well, my family lives on your land. Well, there's no man to take care of them. Have the church consign your land into the church. And when you come back, it's here. And this is how the church gains so much European land.
And that these people who had evidently, that was a replay box, here's slate tablets here, and you'll see the dust on them. They've been sitting there for between 20 and 30 years, and we really weren't allowed to handle these items. And there was many of them that were still in the boxes that we couldn't get to. And the curator mentioned that there are lots of these tablets that are not here, and that maybe some in private collections. Here's a tool used to bludgeon people that has the mystic symbol on it. There's my gray head and Wayne Bay's head, and he's giving us that has the.
Now you can see clearly right there. There's writing. There's clearly smooth tablets with legible Egyptian writing. I'm stoned all the time, my computer is shit, and I can see Egyptian writing. And it's blurry. I can still make out what it is.
A mystic symbol on it. There's my...
Now, you're telling me you see something like that? You're not... Wait, you dug this out of the fucking ground? Where? Michigan? And you put it on a cargo a cargo truck and you sent it to Salt Lake City? And you're waiting for some woman to die so you can destroy it?
A gray head, a way base head, and he's giving us an idea of what he thinks is going on in this tablet, which is actually Moses receiving the 10.
Look at him holding up both tablets, both arms holding up the tablets.
This tablet.
You see that?
Which is actually Moses receiving the 10 Commandments. Whoever phoned this up really had a good knowledge of all of these biblical stories. But it's interesting, these graves predate considerably Columbus, and most likely predate the printing of the first Bible.
See? What did I tell you? Well, I pre-watched it. But still, I've been telling you that for a while. And you still run back to these churches and these internet churches and you still worship Christ and you still inject two names to a prayer to a creator that says no other God. Michael is the designated prince of the Israelites. I don't hear one person saying Prince Michael. Please protect me. The Lord is my shepherd, and he is kind to you. Please protect me. I don't hear anybody saying prayers like that. In fact, we're not even supposed to hear people's prayers, are we? But you guys get in a group, you pray as a group to two different gods, and you don't even understand this Bible. You don't even understand that they're opposing gods. Christians got it down packed. Stay out of the Old Testament. That's done away with. As the Christians constantly talk about how they replace you. Even in Revelation, when you're brought up, they don't want to read that. Don't you get it? These black churches were sitting there reading Revelation, and they said, who are these 12 tribes they talking about? And as they went into the Old Testament, they learned what they weren't supposed to. They learned about the children of God that was thrown into slavery. And this is how they built their systems of Mormon churches of Christ in the 70s. Slowly but surely, they've been branching out. And that's what's going on. Amen. You'd be surprised if all these cats work together. You'd be surprised if all these mega church preachers all went to Christian theologian schools, right? Would it be not that surprising if all these black theologians, elders, all took some kind of training course to be credited? Don't you have to be credited to be like get government shit, this and that? Don't you have to be credited for fucking 501c3? If all these churches, all these black Christian churches are connected to the Mormons, why don't all these black Christians realize what's really going on, sitting right in front of their face? Egyptian writing. If they don't even know what Hebrew writing looks like, there's still Egyptian writing being dug up on U.S. soil. Like he just stated, older than Columbus invasion, overthrow.
Head, and he's giving us an idea of what he thinks is going on in this tablet, which is actually Moses receiving the 10 Commandments. Whoever phoned this up really had a good knowledge of all of these biblical stories. But it's interesting.
See how sarcastic he's being? Whoever phoned these up really had good knowledge.
These graves predate considerably Columbus, and most likely predate the printing of the first Bible. And so these people they're getting these stories from somewhere else than from the Holy Bible, if they're real. So these tablets are really beautifully done.
It's like a comic book, right? It's like the first comic book. See the mini strip? That's writing. Those are words to tell you what's going on here.
They're written on slate, and this slate comes from northern Michigan, the same state, the area where the burial mounds were. This slate is used for making pool tables and so on. It's still there.
Now look, he's got a sword in one hand and a tablet in the other. And look, the eyes are looking down. See, there's two. There's not one eye. There's two eyes looking down. And here's the army. Whose army is that? That's you. When you left Egypt, you formed as an army. It became a military campaign. We must find new land to be a nation.
Even the clay comes from Michigan. And also, you'll see a lot of brass and copper, tools and weapons of war in this collection. And you'll see well, anyway, this brass and copper all comes out of Michigan also.
You see that right there? That's a calendar. See that? See how that's a small calendar? See how, like, the Aztec calendar, which is the Toltec calendar, and the Mayan calendar, which are separate calendars. There is no Aztec calendar. It's the Toltec calendar, which is titled the Aztec calendar, but the Aztec themselves said we didn't build it. Excuse me. See how it's built in the same way? This is like the blueprint for the giant one.
Well, anyway, this brass and copper all comes out of Michigan also. There's two great big tablets, and almost 4 feet long. Excuse me, you'll see those a little bit later. Now, these tablets are just perfectly done. I've studied them, and you can't even find where somebody slipped up and made an error in writing these. Whoever did them were very competent engravers. And but the stories that are on here, the stories are of the flood and Noah and his 3 sons. And I can tell you right now that these will last in the ground a lot longer than any books that we have today. And these are
see the metal ring right there? They're attached. There's a metal block ring. It's like a square ring, and it's going through the slate. Meaning you got to turn one slate to see the next. Like one slate is purposely held in front of the other one.
Telling a story, I believe, of people in the past. There's a holding it together. Now here is a little print. I don't know how far back.
You know how old typewriter works? You hit the lever. It works like a piano, right? You hit the key and the lever goes up and stamps. These are stamps. They call them print dies. This is how you print in the clay. You tap these stamps in, right? Now look.
This goes in time, but this is actual print used to press into soft clay tablets. And you'll see some samples of that. Most of the original clay tablets have all disintegrated now. Actually, this collection was not very well taken care of, and a lot of them are broken and destroyed. Now, whoever phonied up the little print pieces too, and in order to make these tablets. Now, see that little clay box we showed you earlier?
Now, again, he's being sarcastic because they're going to destroy these. They were not looking to give these to anyone. He's going to tell you the story briefly.
When it was soft, they had used the very same print tools to press into that soft clay. A lot of these little engravings you see here, they say they hung around their neck. Most of them had a hole, when they hung them around their neck. There's even some people that have claimed these are seer stones. I don't know.
This is why you sit there and love jewelry dangling from your chest. It's in your nature.
There's even some people that have claimed these stones. I don't know if that's true or not. Now here's the big tablet. Here's Wayne May. He actually had some gloves with him. And I have a paper towel I'm using here. Now we're going to zero in on the top panel of this. You got to look at this and think about it. These are wonderful. Study this first panel if you Now in this one, it appears that the being that has breasts, Eve, I would assume, is now picking fruit from this tree and handing it over to Adam. And it's interesting because if you look at this tape, they don't want you to see these. Somebody doesn't want you to see them.
Did you hear that?
You look at this tape. They don't want you to see these. Somebody doesn't want you to see them. Eve, I would assume, is now picking fruit from this tree and handing it over to Adam. And it's interesting because if you look at this tape, they don't want you to see these. Somebody doesn't want you to see them. This is an interesting one here. It shows a circular, I don't know what it is, but they're all...
No, here you have, in the beginning of this, see the nails again? This is what they say that are nails. There's 1, 2, 3. There's a slash through them like there's two. I mean, like there's another one. So these two that make an H. It's actually letters. It's actually words. You know, he's gonna sit there and say that they're piercings. It's the sacred symbol, but you can see it looks like a 7. It looks like an H, and it looks like an L. 7HL. But and then right above that is the I. You see the eye right there? You can tell it's not the sun because the lines that are going from it show in the direction where the pupil is. And then you can see a figure 8, but the top of the figure 8, it is separate. It's a serpent head about to, and that's like its body's coiled, and that's its tail. Now there's the H symbol again, right there. See, it's a circle, like a key going up. Now this one looks like a nail, but this looks like a reap. The one that goes across looks like a reaper, or it looks like, you know how the you know, tuna cans, they come with that piece of metal to pop the tuna thing, and you twist it. I don't have any other way to explain it. It looks like a question mark with an elongated line with no dot at the end. So this is a 7 with a circle at the end. This looks like it's some kind of shape of a spike or nail with the nail head pushing further to one side. You know, but you know, it's their talks, you know. It's different, you know, if they sit there and say, oh, well, let's go ask these Indians what that name of their Christ is again, you know, and ask them stories about that. But no, they want to believe in their Christ, which is a sin, it's blasphemy, and it's going to take people to hell, and they don't understand that.
There's an interesting one here. It shows a circular, I don't know what it is, but...
It's called a calendar.
There are lots of circular calendars in this collection. And it's interesting that these circular calendars have 13 lunar cycles. We only got
13 lunar cycles. Now, we have been told over and over again that there are 12 zodiac signs, you know, lunar cycles, you know, revolve around the fucking zodiac, right? So then a couple of years back they said now there's a 13th zodiac sign that is formed or appeared or something of that nature. So
got to see one side of the one. It has pretty or information on both sides, and so does the
so that's writing right there, and you can see it's Egyptian or Coptic Egyptian. See, they know it's Coptic Egyptian today.
remaining tablets. So there's a lot of information we've lost. This tablet we just passed shows Moses again receiving the Ten Commandments. This how did Adamic writings get on those tablets?
So they're calling that Adamic writing.
Those guys know those writings. I have translations from one man that claims it's Adamic, and I have another monk out of Burma that is a reader of all the tablets and a memorizer of all the tablets. He claims he can read, and I hope to be able to have him translated and determine if it's Adamic. Now this is me and my big stomach, and this is brass plates. I don't know if it's the brass plates, but these are brass plates. And the writings on them are also Adamic. And we go through all of these and show you all of those. I'm sorry we didn't have more time to do a better job of taking these pictures. But I think these are tremendously valuable artifacts, and if we could read them, we had a real seer who could read these for us, I think we could learn a lot, because if they're true, they predate the printing of the Bible, like I say, the printing of the Book of Mormon. Some of these with Adamic on either had to be written by the Jaredites because they retained their original language, or they were written by the people during Adam's time.
And you see, like, that's just silly that they would skip over. You know, I mean, you've got plates of Moses. You know, like you're not gonna say, oh, maybe it's Moses.
That really throws a wrench in the mix. What are they doing over here in America?
So that is the big question. What are they doing over here in America? More time.
Told by the curator that the collection was going to be disposed of by the LDS Church as soon as Sister Hunter passed away.
Okay, as soon as Sister Hunter passed away. Now.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Ryan, am I coming through back there? All right. Anybody Nephite Explorer fans here? All right. Ryan was my secret weapon I took on sort of my Michigan artifact crusade. Last few episodes, I guess about a month ago, have been Michigan artifact oriented. Its family thing is actually slang for it's a family thing, I promise. We'll just call that an inside joke versus a typo. Moving along, if you didn't notice. Okay, so today, so there certainly are more people that know more about the Michigan artifacts than myself. Sean Davies, Wayne May, but I hope I can bring you a little bit of the unique family connection we have, and a little bit of the inside story, and some status on where the collection is and what's going on with it. So we will cover. Today we're spending about 3 years, so we'll cover my story, I guess my interest in the Michigan artifacts, ancient commerce, which is relevant, and then the Michigan artifacts and their history, and then we're going to talk about building a collection, which I've been doing for about 3 or 4 years, of artifacts themselves. So this is a non-denominational lecture. However, it is impossible to talk about the Michigan artifacts without talking about the LDS Church. So if you're not LDS, just hang in there. It's not preachy, it's just part of the story. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. Anybody familiar with Elder Milton R. Hunter? Okay, and certainly some of the older generation is more familiar with him. But he is my grandfather. He was.
So, Milton R. Hunter is his grandfather.
Curator that the collection was going to be disposed of by the LDS Church as soon as Sister Hunter passed away.
So, Milton already passed away, and Sister Hunter was still alive. She's in her 80s at the time that he recorded this. I can't help when he uploaded it or when anybody else, used the clip.
That this was the rumor that he had received, and that, so immediately after viewing this, I contacted Sister Hunter. Milton R. Hunter, her husband, had passed away, and I talked to her, and she was in her 80s, and she told me that the collection belonged to her and her family. It was in Milton R. Hunter's will, and that she had already turned the collection over to her daughter, Linda Hunter Adams, who was at BYU.
Linda Hunter Adams. So this is probably Linda's son right here.
National lecture. However, it is impossible to talk about the Michigan artifacts without talking about the LDS Church. So if you're not LDS, just hang in there. It's not preachy, it's just part of the story. Okay, So, let's go ahead and begin. Anybody familiar with Elder Milton R. Hunter? Okay, and certainly some of the older generation is more familiar with him. But he is my grandfather. He was in the first corps. He was in the presidency. He served from 1945 to 1975. So he died 2 years before I was born, but I've always felt really close to him, really had an affinity with him. Brilliant man, PhD from Berkeley in history. However, after turning down a lot of prestigious jobs in history, he went and taught at Utah State University at the Institute of Religion there. He was a co-founder of...
Turning down everything that he says, I'm going to stay in Utah.
The New World Archaeological Foundation, and was the author of many books. Now, he really focused on archaeology and the Book of Mormon and what he believed were parallels found in ancient America.
Now, here's here's where shit gets crazy. Here, there's so many different Antioch shits. College, university, Baptist church. How can there be a freaking Baptist church? Antioch Epiphanes slaughtered the Jews. He was slaughtering the Jews on behalf of the Greeks. Hey, let's make a church to him. Let's make a high school to him. We need missionary churches for Antioch Epiphanes because he fought for the Greeks. Right? Don't you get it? If the Hebrews brought you the Old Testament, they made all their colleges and schools to the enemies of the writers of the Old Testament. Antioch Police Department. Come on, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, seriously, if you claim you know the Bible, you claim you know the hidden books too, Antioch Police Department. Come on. So we have Antioch College here in Ohio. That's shocking, right? So here I'm going to type in two things, right? And we're going to look at both of them. We're going to look at professor, professional. Oh, professor Indiana. Why they call that nigga Indiana, huh? Because that's where they found all their shit. Right? So, we have the findings in Indiana, along with the findings in Michigan, and along with the findings of Ohio, right? Now, Professor Indiana Jones is built off of the real life Professor Jordan. Hey, sell those shoes, those Jordans, man. This is why the name Jordan. Oh. Alright. Smithsonian Phoenix Gazette. Alright. So, I always tell you to laminate shit, right? I hope you can see that glimmer and shine. This is one of the most important articles to ever surface for anybody that has color in them that ain't from Africa. This is really important. So I went and laminated it because, okay, so you know what happened in the late 1890s and the early 1900s, right? It's like, okay, we're starting to find pre-Columbian stuff. We're going to control all the artifacts that come up and say that they're fake. Now, the Mormon grab was in the 1850s. So this is before the 1890s, right? All right. Smithsonian's enigmatic Professor Jordan linked to 1909 Arizona newspaper article identified. A 1909 Phoenix Gazette article related that Professor Jordan found a system of underground chambers in the Grand Canyon filled with Egyptian artifacts sent to the Smithsonian. Jordan is said to never have existed, but oddly he did. Okay, so real quick. 1909, Phoenix Gazette posts this article talking about what Jordan saw in there. Jordan did what he was paid to do. He sent the artifacts to the Smithsonian. Now, the Phoenix Gazette posts this, and then people start to contact the Smithsonian. And the Smithsonian says immediately, we ain't never heard of no Jordan, and we don't have any Egyptian artifacts. So this is why they always say, we went to Egypt, we found some shit from Egypt, and we brought it over here. When in reality, they've already had it from the 1800s, and slowly they release it onto the public, and they claim they found new shit over there in the old world. When in reality, everything in the pyramids in the old world are held by private collectors. Because all those private collectors went through those pyramids before any organized group did. If you read about the pyramids, you'll learn of how they blasted holes into Giza to find this and to find that. And anything that they found, they went to private collections. So what we're dealing with here in the Americas are Egyptian artifacts from the Grand Canyon, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. That's what we're honestly dealing with. Alright, it says, Memphis, Tennessee, September 2014, David Childress. You know, David Childress is one of those ancient alien guys from the History Channel. He's been accused of creating the Smithsonian conspiracy. Alright, Childress sees all these artifacts buried in North America and can see that they're pre-Columbian. And because he's got some TV fame, he's too hard for them just to kill. If they kill him, it makes it look like he's correct. So, he's been dubbed the creator of the Smithsonian conspiracy because how many times he brings up that artifacts were sent to the Smithsonian. Alright, so the idea that the Smithsonian Institute has been hiding and withholding evidence, marginalizing. Here, let's put it in a concept that we can all understand. They've been marginalizing black people history that's been found. They're hiding and withholding evidence that contradicts accepted archaeological history. In 1993, Childress published a widely cited article that included a front page story from the April 1909 issue of the Phoenix Gazette. The article related that Professor Jordan and G.E. Kincaid, now I'm going to highlight G.E. Kincaid, had found a hidden complex of catacombs filled with Oriental and Egyptian artifacts. Hidden complex of catacombs filled with Oriental and Egyptian artifacts. Now you see the Oriental. This is you and me now. They add the Oriental, right? The Afro-Asian. The Smithsonian had denied repeatedly that a Professor Jordan have ever worked for them or been affiliated with them. The consistent official statement from the institution has been the Smithsonian Department of Anthropology has searched its files without finding any mention of a Professor Jordan, of a Kincaid, or of a lost Egyptian civilization in Arizona. Virtually all archaeologists assert that the story was a hoax perpetrated by the newspaper. A mainstream archaeology textbook relates, as to Professor Jordan, they even put this guy in a textbook. As to Professor Jordan, any niggas reading this that might think about Egypt being in Arizona, as to Professor Jordan, there is no record in a textbook, people. In textbooks, there's no record of any such person working with the Smithsonian. This is how far they will go to cover their ass, people. Now listen. However, David Starr Jordan was affiliated with the Smithsonian for over a 30-year period, from the 1880s till 1910. Jordan also made an expedition to the Grand Canyon in 1889, and it is known that he was accompanied by T. Kincaid. Up here it says G.E., and there is no G.E. The person is actually T. Kincaid, on an expedition to Alaska. Now, every time Indiana Jones goes out, he always has that same guy running with him. So that's to say, anytime Professor Jordan goes out, he'd always have T. Kincaid with him. It says in 1906, Jordan was offered the top job at the Smithsonian. He also prominently founded many Smithsonian, he is also prominently found in many Smithsonian publications from the 1800s. Listen very closely. Recently, the Smithsonian quietly issued a page on him on their website. Now let's go back up to the top. The article in the Phoenix Gazette that states Jordan found a system of tunnels in the Grand Canyon and sent the artifacts to the Smithsonian. This little sentence right here means all that's correct. That means this guy that's discovering all this shit is literally Indiana Jones. This is what the Indiana Jones, Professor J, right? Indiana, where main discoveries have been hidden from you. See, what you need to do is you need to go back to the story of how the Mormon book came about and where this motherfucker found the copper scrolls. This is how it has to do with Indiana. Jones. You know how many black people share the name Jones as well as Williams? There's songs called, what, Mrs. Jones? Don't know white people sing a song called Mrs. Jones. Black people sing a song called Mrs. Jones. So Professor Indiana Jones is actually Professor Jordan. And it has to do with, here I'll just type in I typed in ancient artifacts Indiana. The first thing that comes up, FBI seizes thousands of ancient artifacts from Indiana home. A 90-year-old one man, oh shit, this is in 2014, right? A 91-year-old man, Donald Miller Waldron, Indiana, has been found to have collected thousands of ancient artifacts over 80 years of storing them in his home. An artifact received by the FBI Wednesday, who promised to return those items which the owner had no right to What? who promised to return those items which the owner had no right to, due to federal and state laws as well as treaties. Look at that. Among the items are Native American, Russian, Chinese, Peruvian, Haitian, Australian relics, as well as more from other countries. So, prehistoric treasure found in fields of Indian artifacts, ancient Indian artifacts. So they're selling on eBay right now, right? Selling on eBay, pre-Columbian on eBay, ancient Indian artifacts, pre-Columbian. Shop with confidence. You see what's going on? I'm asking you. You prayed to fucking Christ today. Do you see what's going on? Christ did this to you. They went in the graves of your ancestors and they dig the shit up and then they privately destroy it or sell it or collect it and then get busted and say you got too many. They don't give a fuck what he's got from some other country. They give a fuck about the ones he pulled up with afros on them. The ones they pulled up with Egyptian and Hebrew writing. Listen to this. The elderly man, a former teacher and part of the World War II Manhattan Project, which built the atomic bomb, is cooperating with the FBI on their investigation and insists to CBS News that he possessed and owned the artifacts rightfully. So, while you're being brainwashed by fucking rappers, they're going in the street and shoot each other, white men get bored and dig up on their own property your stuff. Now you're put in the shit end of the city where they sit there and smother you with chemicals to try to sterilize you, but you keep on pumping. Ancient site in Indiana plundered. But you're listening to rap and you're chasing women and you're snatching vagina. Good for you. You're pimping. And these people are digging up your shit and selling it or destroying it. Let's see, when is this? 2004. 2004. Ancient site in Indiana plundered. Right? When did Indiana Jones come out? 80 what? So that's 20 years after. The secrets of prehistoric village was once stood in Decatur country, may remain locked away forever after thousands of ancient axes, arrowheads, and other primitive tools were dug up and carted away. 3 southern Indiana men have been arrested in the case after conservation officers, following a tip, found men digging with shovels, picks, and garden hoses, said Steve Reinhold, Department of Natural Resources field officer. Investigators found thousands of artifacts in the men's homes, prominently worth tens of thousands of dollars. Now, why is it worth that much money? Why is it not an archaeological discovery? Why is this stuff allowed to be dug up legally? Now, this act was illegal, but why is this stuff allowed to be dug up legally and then sold? See, they put a price tag on this. See, okay, if somebody sells weed and they get a bunch of it seized at once, then you hear about it. You don't hear about nothing else. Because all that shit is done with the term you call legally inside a white man's home. See, they tell you they're not going to send police into white people's homes to raid them because the white man will get a lawyer and he'll use the lawyer against the police, and the police will lose a lot of funding. Black people ain't going to get no lawyer. And if you do, you get a free lawyer, one that don't give a fuck. And just like legal drug sales, which they call illegal, but they don't bust you for it, you have legal ways of digging up pre-Columbian artifacts and selling them off. Now, they call this looting. Looting is especially significant because once a site is disturbed, it's extremely difficult for archaeologists to conduct a scientific survey. Now, how did these men know about this site? And then once this site was found, was there a scientific survey? Because of course, you already know that it's pre-Columbian. And anything pre-Columbian is considered hush-hush because of the authority that was in power at the time that Powell worked for or ran the Smithsonian. This is at a time when the United States is still being measured. You know, this is one of the guys that runs around with a rod and measures everything. You know, Powell makes quotes for having the scientific eye to be able to differentiate what a natural rock is and what a marked system of indigenous signs are. Meaning the rocks look like the indigenous people done this to the rocks. It's not a natural formation. Alright, so it says, this is just like robbing an Egyptian tomb. What the fuck? This is just... Let's take the word like out. Let's erase the word like. This is just robbing an Egyptian tomb. You need to understand what's going on. Even this Reinhold, these are his words. He works for the Department of Natural Resources. He's telling you this is an Egyptian tomb in Indiana. And these men in 2004 were caught robbing it. Grave robbing. DNR officials said Franklin P. Everman, 59, of North Vernon, excuse me, I said Vernon, and Carl Haas, 55, and Robin Stolvent, 40, of Westport were arrested on the 17th on a preliminary charge of disturbing the ground in search of artifacts. So that's a real crime. Excuse me, Class A misdemeanor carries up to 1 year in jail. So that means if you live in Indiana and you start digging, there could be a charge, a preliminary charge of disturbing the ground in search of artifacts onto you. If the artifacts include human remains, the penalty is stiffer. Is that insane? If you dig up ancient bones of my ancestors or your ancestors, if me and you went there on purpose to dig up our bones to say, hey, test the DNA to see if it's mine, this is pre-Columbian, there's a $10,000 fine involved in doing that. That's a Class D felony. They could put you in prison for 18 months for trying to prove you were here before Columbus. Haas declined comment. They're blowing this out of proportion. No, he doesn't understand what he did. He undug evidence that niggas was here first, that Negroes were here first, that black-skinned people been here for hundreds, if not thousands of years. They are not blowing this out of proportion. You uncovered part of the biggest secret in history. They probably slapped you with the fine and the 18 months in jail. In Indiana, it is illegal for anyone to conduct archaeological digs without permission of the DNR. Anyone who discovers artifacts must report their findings to the agency within 2 days. Investigators say the men conducted digs in at least 2 places. So these men knew of 2 different places. You know, they already said they found them with the thousands of dollars of merchandise, right? Axes, arrowheads, and primitive tools were dug up and carted away. And these guys knew of numerous sites. Authorities did not divulge the locations. The men apparently had collected artifacts for years and kept them throughout their homes, right? And these guys are 59, right? And so this guy over here, and he's 91. He's in Indiana. Now I wonder how close those two are. Obviously these guys dig and this guy buys. Says investigators may have not turned up any evidence that the men were trying to sell the artifacts, but similar items often sell for hundreds of dollars on the internet. Authorities said they did not know the exact value of the men's collection. A stone axe found in one of the men's home worth about $1,000, said James Mahal, a DNR archaeologist. Other axes are worth about $200 to $300, he said. No formal charge has been filed in the case, but the men remain suspect in the investigation. Decatur County prosecutor William Smith said Smith would not say why he has not authorized charges. Okay. So the prosecutor is not stating why he's not prosecuting. Following a tip, conservation officers found the men digging. They were wearing backpacks and have brought food and water so they could spend the day searching for artifacts, he said. The 2 suspects, who are friends, told authorities gone to multiple sites for years to search for artifacts, Reinhold said. Investigators would not divulge where they arrested the men or where else they collected artifacts because they feared others would attempt to loot the sites if they disclosed locations. DNR officials said that in addition to the boxes of stone artifacts, in addition to the boxes of stone artifacts, so they got boxes of artifacts from these guys. They found bone fragments that appear to be human during their search of the men's homes. Now, what happens if you find human remains? The what? The penalty's stiffer. But Smith declined to say why he wasn't going to prosecute them. Authorities confiscated part of the wall from the residence that had a map of the county. Pinpointed on the map were locations where authorities believe the men thought were artifacts. Now, these 2 men, like, they had a map on a wall and they started pinpointing locations where they believe it would be wise to dig. They had a county map. Something taught them along the way that this county was full of prehistoric, pre-Columbian history. Not no measly Spanish coins or no shit like that. artifacts like hammers and axes, obviously shields. The digging has likely ruined any chance to prove artifacts are remnants of a Native American village. So, how would they know it's a village? Scientists believe it was once in Decatur. See, now we see what's going on. All they're doing is reading history books. Scientists, they mean anthropologists. Anthropologists are reading the same books and digging in the same places, but how do you say legally? Because they're not digging for themselves, they're digging for the state, but the state's paying them big money to be out there digging. Archaeologists going in the books, reading books, and the historian says, this is the place where this happened by this river. And archaeologists go out there and dig and try to find the pinpoint location. These two men without any license, they done sit there and did the state's damn job from. The state said, let's take the whole fucking wall. Authorities confiscated part of the wall from one residence that had the map of the county. Pinpointed on the map were locations authorities believe the men were thought where artifacts were. That means the men did their homework, pinpointed on the map where they believe these what? The ruins are. And they went out and started digging because the archaeologists couldn't figure out where it was. These men had thousands of shits collected, boxes of shit left. Boxes of shit left their house collected by the FBI. Archaeologist scratching his head. I didn't even know this stuff was here. We're still studying it. But these two old bastards were able to find this stuff and dig it up. Sit out there and eat lunch for days. Find all this stuff. The digging has done extraordinary damage. Bullshit. They did their job for them. Looting cases are rare in Indiana, but Mohal said those who pursue their artifacts can go to great lengths to obtain them. Really? Great lengths to obtain them? 90-year-old man has been found to have collected thousands of artifacts over a span of 80 years. Yeah, he went great lengths to collect. He says, I've seen where they come out at night in fatigues and use flashlights, he said. Some collectors hire people to collect the items for them. And he says the case in Decatur is great loss for science. An anthropology professor at Ball State University says Colleen Boyd. No, it's not. They found all that stuff. And that stuff that they found goes right to what? The state's, what, D and what? What were they called? DNR. Do not return. Department of Natural Resources. Right? Oh, you ruined the site. Oh, but all those finds that they made. So are you going to historically accredit these three people for finding all that stuff? It says many items end up for sale on the internet. A search on the internet auction site Monday found Indiana artifacts selling for as much as $142 each. Many people want to collect burial remains and artifacts because Indian remains have been mystified. Boy said a lot of people feel they're spiritual. Alright, so ancient site in Indiana plundered. FBI seizes thousands of ancient artifacts from Indiana home. Right? Type in ancient artifacts. What? Unearthed? Unearthed. unearthed in Indiana. Yeah, see? By rabbits. Rabbits lead to ancient artifacts. You get that shit? Right? It's getting better by the second, right? Ancient artifacts unearthed by rabbits leads to discovery of treasure trove. This is 2014. In February last year, a family of rabbits won some favor amongst archaeologists in England. Oh, that's in England. Why are you doing that to me? You know I said in Indiana, man. Artifacts unearthed at Angel Mounds. Yeah, you got a place in Indiana called Angel Mounds, and that didn't put a question mark on your fucking head. If anybody lives in Indiana and watches this shit, dude, you know, shame on you. Artifacts unearthed at Angel Mounds, a new discovery. This is 2009. Discovered at Angel Mounds near Evansville, Indiana, is helping to renew secrets about this mysterious culture. The discovery is a pot which was found whole, a rare event in archaeology. All right, well, yeah, they didn't have to glue that shit back together, right? Angel Mound State Historic Site is located in Ohio River. See, Ohio River runs through Indiana. That's why they said they found all those caves. They found all those bodies in the caves of Indiana that's on the Ohio River. Ancient Phoenician in Lebanon. Don't tell me Lebanon's in Indiana. Or they mean city of Siddim. Oh, it's gonna be something, huh? Unearthed in Muskrat Falls. Where's Muskrat Falls? See, this is just some damn game, dude. That better be. Well, that's Massachusetts. I mean, that's spelled the same as Indiana. Where's Muskrat Falls? Come on, who does this? Innu arrowhead spear date back 3,000 years. Well, oh, it's in Labrador area. Okay, so that's in Canada. Only place I know they name after a damn dog. Alright, Massachusetts, we all know that's in the States. From East Asia, unearthed at Alaska. Yeah. That fits my theory. I don't want to watch a video. Kiss my ass. Ancient Indian artifacts. Byzantine. Oh, that's in Israel. Indiana, USA, fuckers. Pissing me off, man. Jesus don't want me as a sunbeam. That's why he sent the Caucasians over to kill my people. Unearthed during there you go, Indianapolis. Complete other side of the river. Alright, construction on a $20 million transit center in downtown Indianapolis has unearthed artifacts that offer a blueprint of prior development at the site, according to archaeologists hired by the city. While they were doing the foundation, they had to go down far. Right, last month has halted construction in a section of the project. Archaeologists sifted into the area. The parking lot stood on the site before construction crews razzed it to begin building the transit center before the parking crews destroyed the parking garage so that they can build this new transit center. Some of the items found at the site date back to the 1880s, while others were prehistoric materials. Amy Johnson, the architect with Indiana Department of Natural Resources, the DNR, warehouses, shops, and officers were located at the site in the 50s, and the archaeological efforts have uncovered older businesses that didn't appear on historic maps, city officials said. Diggers have discovered evidence that a livery, a clothing store, a hotel, and a restaurant may have been there before that. Among the items discovered, researchers are blackboards, menus, clothing stores, displays. Evidence of horses and stables were once on the site. She said the discovery of 2 safes and an arrowhead also indicates that the artifacts go back much further in time. It's been very labor intensive, Johnson said, of the work to uncover artifacts. Archaeologists were hired by Indigo, the city's public transportation agency, and work for the AECOM, a global architect, engineering, and planning firm that designed a 25-mile sewage system currently under construction in Minneapolis. The firm is shipping the artifacts found by diggers to its office in Cincinnati so it can be studied and cataloged, studied and warehoused. Now, that's not that big of a deal. 2 9,000-year-old artifacts unearthed where? Why won't they tell me first? Let's get rid of this one. Bronze, unearthed in Alaska. Well, we know that one's there. In Jerusalem. Yeah. Good for them. Land's End and Earth's Edge. 4,000-year-old kitchen unearthed in Indiana. So, this is like when the kitchen was first started, right? Workers building a boat ramp at southeastern Indiana Charleston State Park have uncovered the apparent remains of a 4,000-year-old kitchen ancient American tribes may have used to prepare their winter food supply. The discovery at the site of eastern Clark County prompts the state to temporarily halt work on the Ohio River boat ramp project. Bob McCullen, who heads the archaeological survey team from Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, said the low-lying area was probably used by nomadic tribes of. They built a giant sink, but you're saying they're nomadic. See that? When people build something, that means they're staying for a while. That doesn't mean that they're nomadic then. You know? So, he says they appeared to collect hickory nuts and use large slabs of rock to crush them, and then made the fires to boil them to extract fatty oils. Okay, so it says tribes often stored such high energy nut oils for use during the lean winter months. The team made 2 trips to the site and plans a 3rd to the area. No human remains have been found at the site. He said it was surprising how well preserved the cooking area was for the site, but said it protected over the centuries by layers of silt deposited by floodwaters. contains large amounts of laurel chert, a stone from which stone tools can be created. Other artifacts include stone slabs for grinding and cracking nuts, and the remains of fire pits. The area being studied is part of a 2700 expansion at the park, closed to the public. Over the years, several archaeological sites have been found in the park area. So if they found bones in the park area, then those bones, here's the sink that those people that they found probably used. So it's a cooking area. So that's why they're saying it's a kitchen. So if they use the area to boil stuff, it's right by the water source, because if you have a giant pot or large pots, you don't want to be carrying a bunch of water back and forth and all that good stuff. So it's basically, if they were boiling the nuts to get to the oil, then that's called processing, and that's technically a processing plant. And they'll never be respected like that. It's just a kitchen. Like, we're not finding fish bones or anything like that, but we're pretty much on the hickory nut thing. It appears it deals with hickory nuts. So they were smart enough to not chew the nuts. So they said, let's get the oil from the nuts. And what were they using the oil on? Their hair? I bet they're using it on their hair. Ancient relic unearthed by rabbits. Burroughs Cave. Now Burroughs Cave is where's Burroughs Cave at? Evansville, Indiana is where Angel Mound is. So they already have mounds in Indiana that they call Angel Mounds. Burroughs Cave is named given to an alleged cave in a disputed location in southern Illinois. Discovered by Russell E. Burroughs, is said to contain a number of artifacts. Though many inconsistencies around Burroughs' story of the discovery of his findings, the cave and its contents are considered a hoax by mainstream and some fringe archaeologists. Now it's considered a hoax because of what they found. Right? The Phoenician ship is found. And there's some information. Up until 1993, the predominant Burrow Caves scenario involved Egyptian and Phoenician colonists. Part of the evidence for this involved a stone that supposedly depicted a Phoenician vessel. Frank Joseph, that's the guy who shows you 4 times that there's 4 mass migrations of black-skinned people to the Americas. Frank Joseph, one of the key figures involved with the cave, reproduced this in his book, The Lost Treasure of King Juba, the evidence of Africans in America before Columbus. Excuse me. Alongside an image of an actual Phoenician vessel that had been used by an associate of Burroughs, who had originally identified it as Phoenician. In doing so, he cropped the image from the Burroughs stone, making the paddle end of a steering oar unidentifiable, but leaving the steering oars that are shown on what he calls and the artist depicts as the prow of the boat. Anthropologist and geographer George F. Carter, a supporter of the concept of transcultural diffusion. Diffusion means people traveled all around the world. They were not isolated. It's isolationist or diffusionist. That's the two things. Isolationist means you stayed in your own area until Europeans say we're going to conquer the world. Diffusionists say everybody went everywhere. When Rome says we went everywhere, the Roman writers claiming that their civilization went everywhere, that would be diffusionism. When Phoenicians say we sailed the 7 seas, we're king of the seas, that's diffusionism. When Poseidon, one of their gods, says, I'm king of the 7 seas, that's diffusionism. That would say Poseidon could get to anywhere in the sea at any time he wanted to, so to speak. And even though he is the Europeans' god, the Europeans say, no, that possibly couldn't be so. It's not possible until we went out and took over the world. That's isolationism. So when the Greeks say we went to war and we started conquering all this different land, in the Greeks' own writing, that is not isolationism. That is diffusionism. So when the Greeks say they conquered the world, that's diffusionism. When the Romans say they conquered the world, that's diffusionism. When God says, I'm going to spread you to the 4 corners of the earth, again, that's diffusionism. Please understand what diffusionism is. It's not until Europeans decide us 10 kings are going to combine and take over the world and claim land like it was the moon. That's isolationism. You're isolated until the Europeans decided at that moment to send Columbus. Then that's diffusionism. Now, do you understand the difference? Prior to Columbus, Europeans are isolated, but once they send Columbus, that's diffusionism. Now, you see how fucking stupid this is, right? So, the Egyptians say they sent boats everywhere and traded with everyone. That's diffusionism. When the Europeans find the Egyptian records and then write the Egyptian records in European words, that's the European telling you that the Egyptian just said the Egyptians are dealing with diffusionism. And right after the European writes that, the European will say, well, that can't be true, but I'm still printing the book. Do you understand the double talk of the dragon? No good fruit can come from the male. A supporter of diffusionism, George Carter, commented on this image, saying the author did not recognize paired oars and hung the impossible oar over the boat. Others equally botched up fanciful stern pieces or over bow, crude fakery by an ignoramus of world ships. The image also identified the ship as Phoenician, actually dates around 700, but Joseph describes it as dated as 170 BCE. Now they say the Phoenician ship is actually dated at 700 BCE. Alright. That's funny because 700 BCE comes after 750 BCE. So if they dated, now these are the people that are isolationist. Understand that. But Joseph dates it at 170 BCE. 170 BCE is closer to the time of Maccabees. 700 BCE is closer to the time after the actions of Pilsler III. 750, 752, Assyrians take the 10 tribes away. Eventually they break that hold and come back. The history we haven't seen. This is the history that's got to be written in our own words that they've been hiding from us. It's possibly because around the time of Burroughs came was being betrayed as the destination of Mauritanians, including exiled Romans, Africans, Celts, Christians, and Jews fleeing the Romans, taking with them an alleged treasure belonged to King Juba. Juba. See how this is all playing out? So allegedly, Mauritanians are ex-Romans or exiled Romans. They are Africans, Celts, Christians, and Jews who, to escape Rome, came here. Here's Juba of Numbida. Later moved to Mauritania. Wife was Cleopatra, Serene of the second daughter of Greek Ptolemaic Queen Cleopatra VII of Egypt. See, this is all starting to make sense now. This is all starting to... You know what we're missing? I know what we're missing. Big key, big key, big key. What's his... Dr. Malachi Z. When he talks about Cleopatra and their son coming over here and they to escape Cleopatra and Mark Antony, who they call in Juba. Well, Mark Antony would have been this one, right? No, this one. This is the one with Mark Antony, right? So their kid... I'm not sure. Yeah. After this, she aligned with Mark Antony. Okay. Alright. So, daughter. So, this is Mark Antony and Cleopatra, right? This is her daughter, Cleopatra Serene II. And she's married up with this nigga. Right? Juba. Jew. Restored to the throne, marriages and children, natural history. Alright. Was an ancient Libyan prince from North Africa. He was the only child and heir of King Juba. His mother's identity is on... Let's go back up. Here we have Juba. His first wife is Cleopatra. Okay, so his mother's unknown and he marries this Cleopatra. Ancient Libyan prince. What is ancient Libyan and why is that highlightable? Referred to the region west of the Nile Valley. So we just heard Horace Butler say the Jews took over the west. So the Moors knew that they couldn't go back to West Africa. Why? Alright, so we see the Berber people today and they look white with red hair, but we know the DNA says that the Berber people are related to the Negroid. So there's no way that those people with red hair are related to us. The real Berber people, they've been what? Diaspora. So Juba's part of the ancient. Look at the nose, look at the lips. And you see the lips, you know it's a dead giveaway. Alright, so he's out of North Africa. That's too hot for white people. Let's not fool ourselves. His mother's identity is unknown. In 46 BCE, his father was defeated by Julius Caesar. So his father is enemies of Julius Caesar. Now you see what's going on? Numidia became a Roman province. His father had been ally of Rome, General Pompey. Juba was brought to Rome by Caesar, and he took part in Caesar's triumphal procession. In Rome, he learned Latin and Greek and became Romanized and was granted Roman citizenship through dedication to his studies. Right? This is American you, right? He is said to have become one of Rome's best educated citizens, right? And by the age of 20, he wrote one of his first works entitled Roman Archaeology. He was raised by Julius Caesar and later by his, listen to this shit, motherfucker. Listen, after his father was defeated by Julius Caesar in 46, right? So when does it say he was born? They think he was born in 50 or 52. So in 46, he would have been 4 years old. He was between 4 years old and 8 years old. And Julius Caesar took him under his wing. I just killed your father. I'm going to raise you to worship me. Please, Lord thy God, tell me the people viewing understand what's going on. This is a prince of Judah whose father was set up in North Africa fighting Rome, and when he was cut down by Julius Caesar, Caesar took his 6 to 8 year old son under his vicious wing. What? And what? Raised him as his son? Mr. Ripley? Anyone? Tell me somebody's taken the time. I mean, we're done with the ancient Earth in Indiana. Tell me somebody's taking the time. Incredible. Incredible Mr. Ripley. This is it, right? Yeah. Hey, give me a trailer. You've got to understand what the hell is going on. Okay, get a load of this shit. Okay, now I want you to understand this is so relevant. Okay? Now, I'm not being prejudiced. This is the white male mentality. All wrapped up into one little movie. One little movie. Have you ever wanted to be someone else?
Dickie Greenleaf? It's Tom. Tom Ripley.
Tom Ripley?
We were at Princeton together.
Did we know each other? Sorry, what is it?
Ripley.
How do you do?
It'll just be for a little while.
No, I like him.
Marge, you like everybody. Marge, you like everybody.
You stay at Dickie's house, eat Dickie's food, wear his clothes, and his father picks up the tab.
What did you actually do in New York?
Telling lies, forging signatures, impersonating practically anybody.
What?
Listen to this again.
Marge, you like everybody. Marge, you like everybody.
You stay at Dickie's house, eat Dickie's food, wear his clothes, and his father picks up the tab.
Alright, we're gonna stop there for a second. Alright, the best thing to put in the movie right now, it's a Warner Brothers clip. It's from the movie Get Hard, and I keep opening the trailers and I can't find the scene, but everybody's seen the trailer for Get Hard, and in the clip he says, "I studied you all night." Not you, your people. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the talented Mr. Ripley, and you know, this is where you would insert that, and I'm sorry I can't find, I've seen other YouTube artists use it, I just can't find that clip myself.
The tab.
What did you actually do in New York?
Telling lies, forging signatures, impersonating practically anybody.
What?
So what if you could take their life? If you ever wanted to be somebody, what if you could take their life and make it your own?
I wish I could live Dickie's life for him. I know what I would do.
Did I know you at Princeton, Tom? I don't think I did I?
I always thought it'd be better to be a fake somebody than a real nobody.
Why is it that when men play, they always play at killing each other?
I feel like I've been handed a new life.
I wouldn't have cared what anyone thought.
Everybody should have one talent. What's yours?
So you'd see the duality in the in the mirror there. There's two sides of him. The him, that's a real nobody. And then the duality of it, there's the talented him. Right? That's why I have the talented. And you see the image. Right? See, separate those. The talented and Mr. Ripley. Now, when you see the talented, you see the duality, and you see the refraction, the reflection, that this is the talented one. Alright? Now I'll take that off the screen, and then there's Mr. Ripley. And the image, the fractured image is gone. Right? And this is what it has to deal with. It is to take what has been given to you. Now, the Lord told you He gave these Gentiles the right to overthrow you. And He told you to not worship their God unless they separate from their Father. Unless they separate from their Father and come unto you, unto the slave's God. Right? So they tried to trick you into believing, slave, that this is your God, this Christ thing that is sent. This is your God. This is why at 6 years old, depending on when he's born, you've got to understand it's 52 to 50 is somewhere in there is his birth. He dies at 23. Right? So, he's what? He's 8 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old at 46. When his father's defeated by Julius Caesar, Juba was brought to Rome by Julius Caesar, who just killed his father, took part in Caesar's triumphant procession. People of Rome, I just killed this motherfucker's father! And everybody celebrates, right? And everybody celebrates. And this kid, 6 years old, 8 years old, he can't even fucking speak Latin or Greek or whatever they're speaking at the time in Rome. He doesn't even know what they're saying. Until he learned Latin and Greek and became Romanized. And was granted Roman citizenship. Well, he was in Caesar's triumphant procession from when he slaughtered his fucking dad. I mean, he did agree to march along, even though he didn't know what Caesar was saying to him. You know, I'm sure they had translators. I'm sure translators translated something different than what actually occurred. Even though there's a war going on, your father died of an illness. Oh, that guy over there with your father's blood all over him, Caesar, he was trying to help your father. He was trying to get the illness out with a sword. So I'd just like you to follow along, Caesar. It's okay to put this chain on your arm or this chain on your neck. I want you to follow Caesar as he rides around and everybody cheers for him for trying to save your father. Right? So the kid grows up and he's educated, right? Through dedication to his studies, he is said to have become one of Rome's best educated citizens, and by age 20 he wrote his first work entitled Roman Archaeology. He was raised by Julius Caesar, and later by his great-nephew Octavian. So, when Caesar was murdered by everybody, then Psycho Octavian was raising this kid. While growing up, Juba accompanied Octavian on military campaigns. Look at this, Juba! This is how we chased down the rest of the Israelites! Ha 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 ha! Juba! Your family was one of the Israelites we overthrown, and now you're a fucking Roman! How does it feel, Juba? One day I'll fucking kill you. Yes, Juba! Ha ha ha! Yes, Juba! Just ride along. Watch us slaughter other Israelites and other family groups and take over the land and make our kingdom an empire. What do you say to that, Juba? He fought alongside Octavian in the Battle of Actium. Actium. Book of Acts. Actium, right? Actium, right? Book of Acts. Battle of Actium in 30. He became long-term friends. They became long-term friends. Okay. So, restored to the throne. August, September, October. August restored Juba as king of Numidia. We have Romanized this fucker. Go back to your home and rule in your father's bloody stead, and pay tribute to Rome, although your father wouldn't. And so Juba said, for 2 years, okay. Juba established Numidia as an ally of Rome. Juba would become one of the most loyal client kings that served Rome, probably due to his services with Augustus in a campaign in present-day Spain between 26 and 20. So basically the Romans dispersed from Rome, Italy, and moved into Spain. But they really didn't disperse, they just kind of spread from Italy into Spain and Portugal. Augustus arranged for him to marry Cleopatra, giving her a large dowry and appointing her queen. Now that's where they fucked up. Now Cleopatra Serene is pissed off at what Rome just did to her mom, right? And then Juba probably knows the history, since he's now restored to his own throne. After 2 years, he probably knows why his dad didn't go the Roman way. So when Juba and his queen moved to Mauritania, they renamed their new capital Caesarea, modern Algeria, in honor of Augustus. The Constitution and sculpture projects at Caesarea, and another city, Volubilis, display a rich mixture of Egyptian, Greek, and Roman architecture styles. Cleopatra is said to have exerted considerable influence on Juba's policies. Juba II encouraged and supported the performing arts, search of science, research, and natural history. He also supported this country's trade. The kingdom of Mauritania was of great importance to the Roman Empire. It ruled over the Mediterranean, particularly Spain and Italy, exported fish, grapes, pearls, figs, grain, wooden furniture, and purple dye harvested from certain shellfish, which was used in the manufacture of purple stripes for senatorial robes. Juba sent a contingent to, whatever that means, to reestablish an ancient Phoenician dye processing manufacturing process. See? What I'd show you in that article earlier, the sink was and kitchen stuff was just part of a processing plant. Tingis, modern Tangier. So remember the Phoenicians went and built a city after Joshua's overthrow of them. They came back and built Tangier. Tingis was built into Tangier, a town at the Pillars of Hercules, modern Straits of Gibraltar, became a major center of trade. Juba was appointed by Augustus as honorary douar, chief magistrate in the Roman colony or town, probably involving trade. Value and quality of Mauritanian see, they call it maritime law, right? So this is set up by Juba. Maritime, when they go back, they name the place Maritime. Mauritanian coins became distinguished. Greek historian Plutarch describes him as one of the most gifted rulers of his time. Between 2 BC and 2 AD, he traveled with Gaius Caesar. Oh shit! You know who that is, right? Come on, you guys know who that is. Arius. It's Arius. Arius, the writer of New Testament. As a member of his advisory staff to the troubled Eastern Mediterranean, Juba was made his son Ptolemy co-ruler, and Juba died in 23. He was buried alongside his first wife in the royal mausoleum of Mauritania. Ptolemy then became the sole ruler of Mauritania. So this is where maritime law, you know. That deals with his marriages. First is Cleopatra. Ptolemy of Maritime was born in 10 BC to 5 BC. Alright, first Ptolemy comes on the scene at 300 BCE. So his name, this is fellow heir. Now they've worked their way into Hebrew blood. A daughter of Cleopatra and Juba, whose name has not been recorded, is mentioned in an inscription. The second marriage is to Calliope, a princess of Cappadocia and widow of Alexander, son of Herod the Great. Okay, so he is widowed himself right back into Hebrew blood as well. So they have a Greek child and a dual Hebrew child. Two different Hebrew bloodlines, but still two Hebrew bloodlines. And this is in 6 to 7 AD. She fell in love with Herod, one of Herod's sons, another son of Herod. Now that's fucked up. His wife fell in love with one of Herod's sons, another son of Herod the Great, and Ethanarch of Judah. Galatius divorced Juba to marry him in 7 AD. Juba had no children with her. Alright, so they didn't make any children. Alright, any author, he wrote Greek and, Juba wrote a number of books in Greek and Latin. Natural history, geography, grammar, painting, and theater. His guide to Arabia became a bestseller in Rome. Only fragments of his work survive. I'm going to scroll down here. Natural history, he's noted as a patron of the arts sciences, sponsored several expeditions, biological research, also a notable author of several scholarly and popular scientific works, such as the Treatise on Natural History, or a best-selling traveler's guide in Arabia. According to Pliny the Younger, Juba sent an expedition to the Canary Islands and Madria. Juba had given the Canary Islands that name because, so this is why the Canary Islands are called the Canary Islands, because he found particular ferocious dogs, Cain and Canaris, from canis, meaning the dogs in Latin on the island. Oh, the Canary Islands have nothing to do with fucking birds. It has to do with canine dogs. Look at that! All this okay, that's obviously not the greatest thing we're learning here, but that's a shocker. That's one of the biggest shockers. Alright, so you're going to scroll down in fiction. Nah, that's about it. Shards of Heaven. Alright, so this is pretty important. And it's funny how we find these things. And yeah, this is Gatius Caesar is that Arius or that his father? No. This is it's the other way. His last name is Gatius. We'll get to this Gatius Caesar guy another day. So there you have that. Now these two it would be back in this one. Well, I'm gonna wrap up here. Because Malachi Z talks about this stuff, how Cleopatra, their kid, not this one, but this one, how their kid comes to the USA. And maybe I'll just play some Malachi Z one day, and you'll hear it from his perspective. You know, there's no telling how some people learn the stuff that they learn, and they learn it and they repeat it. So that's how we hear it. Alright. Catch up to you later. It's church connection, right? And then you've got your fucking Latin that you call Gabar. That is somehow in connection with what? Wayne May, that's connected with it. You'd be surprised at how many guests that are on the GOCC are connected to the fucking Mormons. Wake the fuck up. Told you they're getting a Sephardic paycheck, and it's from the LDS Church.
And that his son and daughter was there.
That's why when I looked up the what's it called? The 501c3 of them, it said that they went by all these different names trying to gather the children of Israel, and it said it was a Mormon organization.
The collection had been collected by two men, Soper and Savage, and back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. I might as well tell you up front that the leaders of the LDS Church have considered this collection phony.
Now, the LDS Church considers this whole collection phony. Now, it doesn't matter if I have a bad camera. You can always type in Michigan artifacts and see the whole 10-minute video for yourself. So you're complaining and shit like that. It just shows how spoiled the homeborn slave is. You understand? It just shows how spoiled you guys are. Just looking for shit to always complain about instead of ever doing anything. Now watch. Now here's all your shit. Now this is why you ain't got nothing.
As well as the Smithsonian Institute and the professors at BYU. However, at the time when the collection first came out, it was the old kind. And since that time, there has been 30 other private collections surface, of which Soper and Savage had nothing to do with. And the other collections have the identical...
That's a crown. Right? Start buffing and polishing that. Is that gold right there? That one's gold.
Languages that are written on their tab, so it's a little...
You got gold fucking crowns. And they said it's fake. The Smithsonian said it's... Oh, I hit the fucking forward button. Now, I accidentally restarted it, and I think he's saying Salt Lake City. It just starts.
Salt Lake City.
Something Lake City. So, and I'm assuming he's saying Salt Lake City because it deals with the LDS Church.
Salt Lake City.
But it's called the Michigan Artifacts. He goes, artbulia.com, trashing politically correct history of the earth, conversation of a skeptic who personally met Henriette Mertz, author of The Mystic Symbol. Now this has to do with something we'll see in a second. It says, and then read her book concerning the Michigan tablets, with her confession of error, plainly showing how scientists and all archetypical culture Mormons and who the fuck wrote this? And indeed the whole world are guilty of groupthink concerning archaeology, anthropology, and theology, and evolution. Right. Let's see. Today's is March 4th. 4/24, some bullshit like that. So, you guys like Sabbath lessons and shit. Alright, so first Sabbath lesson you're gonna watch me order this book. So the cheapest one, it's $18.77. They're temporarily out of stock. So for under 20 bucks, under the price of a small bag of weed, you can buy the most valuable information in your biblical career. Look at that. Or I could pay $20 and let's see. See, the tax on this is $1.27, so that's 20 bucks for that. So this one's gonna be like 25 bucks. That one's 25 bucks. This one's 26 bucks with shipping, and it's just gonna get pricier and pricier. Oh, look, they all got a bunch of the hollowed out around 23. New. So I'm gonna get me a brand new book. I'm gonna get me a paperback, because I got too many hardcovers. I could surely use a paperback. Alright, so I'm gonna add this to my cart. Wordery. I should expect it March 31st. That's a long time, okay? Hey, I like this one, March 11th. March 11th. We'll go with this one. Bam! So now I'm gonna go ahead and proceed to the checkout. None of these books are really what I want. Oh, there. They came before Columbus. That's different. He uses one of those books as a reference in this. Right. Keep me signing in, playing around. Alright guys, so that's the rest. You don't get to see my address and credit card number. I've now shown you consistently as waves of water hit the shore of land. Consistently, I've shown you consistently that you're not all Israelites. That we've left Africa a long time ago. It's called the Exodus. We left the old world a long time ago. I've shown you in many different ways. It is ridiculous that you can make this many videos on the same subject. Now it's the Sabbath, and all of you went and worshipped your Christian Christ. All of you were in the New Testament today. Not one of you brought someone new to this. Things grow by word of mouth. And just like these evolutionism and leading the world into the cross set of error politically and culturally, even to destruction, saith the Lord. Okay, wow. That was really long-winded and written really goofy. But you'll understand some of that once you see this again.
I was permitted to go in and look at this collection a number of years ago. The collection was housed in a building that the LDS Church owns on the west side of the city. And I invited 2 or 3 of my friends to come along with me. 2 of them photographed this. The other main one was Wayne May from the Ancient American magazine, and then his son and daughter was there. The collection had been
So, your black ass can never go to the LDS Church and say, I'd like to see the artifacts from Michigan. They'll look at you and they'll remember what the artifacts look like, and they'll say, oh heavens no, you can't see them. All right? And they'll tell you why at the end. Because they've been planning the whole time to destroy them. The whole time, they're ready to destroy these things.
Elected by two men, Soper and Savage, and back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. I might as well tell you up front that the leaders of the LDS Church have considered this collection phony, as well as the Smithsonian Institute and the professors at BYU. However, at the time when the collection first came out, it was the old time, and since that time, there has been 30 other private collections surface, of which Soper and Savage had nothing to do with, and the other collections have the identical languages that are written on their tabs, so it's a little difficult to believe that these are in fact phony. The next thing is that we've learned that there are literally tens of thousands of ruins that have been found all over the eastern part of the United States, to include Michigan, where these were found, and it's hard to believe these people didn't have some form of language that they would have probably recorded these tablets and artifacts with. I was told by the curator that the collection was going to be disposed of by the LDS Church as soon as Sister Hunter passed away. That this was the rumor that he had received, and that so immediately after viewing this, I contacted Sister Hunter.
So you see they have broken tablets back here, right? They say they ain't have no language, but here's the tablets back here with the language on it.
Viewing this, I contacted Sister Hunter. Milton R. Hunter, her husband, had passed away, and I talked to her, and she was in her 80s, and she told me that the collection belonged to her and her family. It was in Milton R. Hunter's will, and that she had already turned the collection over to her daughter, Linda Hunter Adams, who was at BYU. And she wanted me to talk to Linda Hunter Adams and gave me her phone number. And before I could call after hanging up, she got a hold of Sister Adams, and she called me on the telephone. And so I went and met with Linda Hunter Adams at BYU, and I actually gave her a copy. Right here in this picture, we just passed looking at pipes. These items in the front here are lanterns where they would put a...
Now, remember, goddamn devils have hidden the truth from you. You're sitting there with your thumb in your mouth, hiding the truth from your own people. You who've been sitting here, oh, I watch these videos continuously, and all you do is watch. There's no action. A football commercial comes on the TV, and you're outside throwing a football instantly. Instantly! I link the videos, and I don't hear any of you talking about this over and over again, and you just don't care. And when I say, oh, I'm gonna stop making these videos, you go, oh, no, don't stop, because then I got nothing to watch. You don't care about the truth. I say, read the Old Testament, and it shouldn't be hard at all. Worship no other God. Here is the Sabbath, and all of you injected, oh, please, let me pray to the Father in Christ's name, because obviously God sent Christ, right? He sent some Roman God. He sent the people. He said don't worship their God. He sent the people to enslave you for turning away from Him. And like the whores we have become, you worshipped the God that they brought. And now like zombies. You sat there and you injected another God into your prayer all Sabbath. Well, what's the point? What's the point of showing you the truth if you're just going to paganize the truth and then make money off of it? It's just like Horace Butler said, I threw them a bone. He gave those white people a hidden room in the temple, and they went and took the black body out to hide the body. You say, I'm the body of Israel. You could be anything, and you won't even share the information with other black people. Isn't that stingy, selfish, not doing any work? Lazy? So all I ever do is bring you gifts. So here, I'm gonna bring you just a pleasant gift.
City. I was permitted to go in and look at this collection a number of years ago. The collection was housed in a building that the LDS Church owns on the west side of the city. And I invited 2 or 3 of my friends to come along with me. 2 of them photographed this. The other main one was Wayne May from the Ancient American Magazine.
All right, you guys recall that your what is that? Your Bible camp gathering of pagans, Christian bullshit. You've got the law teacher that's the Latin law teacher that claims he's Hebrew, and you all bow to him as he twists the fucking law, right? He had a radio program where he had Wayne May on. Now, Wayne May, the LDS, this Mormon book is written by Joseph. I forgot what his name is, right? But he tells you about the copper scroll that he found in a cave, right? All this other stuff been found in the ground, you know, right? So they find a copper scroll in the name with in a cave with family names on it and shit, right? So this is the same way the Mormon started their church, finding stuff like this, attempting to translate it, but yet it builds the net worth of their church. They see this stuff, you can even see it's, you know, copper and gold, not the box right here, but the crown, and they're like, no, it's fake.
Actually gave her,
but they got the same stuff. If you look up the copper plate, the copper scroll that they found, and look at the writing on these tablets, it's the same writing.
Right here in this picture, we just passed looking at pipes. These items in the front here are lanterns where they would put a light, that they would put a little bit of oil in and burn it for like a candle. And
so that's what they say. They found all this shit. All this. It must be fake. And they're controlling the fate of these materials. So you see, it's rocks crying out, right? These people done excavated something, and here come all these artifacts.
And on each one of these items, you'll see this engraving that looks the same on all of them. And they refer to that today as the mystic symbol. They didn't know what it was. It's on the side of this little lantern right here. And you'll see it all over. And
all right, on that one, on the other thing, on this, see here, it's spread out. It's spread out like that. All right, one's right there. One's at that angle. One's at that angle. One's at that angle. One's at that angle. And one's at that angle. You see how it's doing that? No. Let's go back. Now you see, I'm going to turn the camera so that it's right, the symbol's right side up for you.
So that should be you looking at the symbol.
All right.
Today as the mystic symbol. They didn't know what it was. It's on the side of this little lantern right here. And you'll see it all over. And it has to do with 5 spikes. At least.
Now they're claiming it has to do with 5 spikes. Now you can see there's a complete tablet and it's been broken in 3.
These spikes are, they claim, the spikes that were used to nail Jesus to the cross. And these spikes are used in the formation of, they claim, a sacred name. The Indians claim it's the name of Christ.
Now, here you have this guy saying the Indians claim it's the name of Christ. Now watch what he says in a second.
They have a different name for him in Christ.
They have a different name for him. So, when Rome comes over here and tells you Jesus Christ died on the cross, and it happened over there in Rome or in Europe or in the Levant, and they don't really fucking know, it's because it didn't happen